5 favorites and a pick that you have to hear to believe for my best bets this week. Let me start with UCLA at home against Nebraska. Decently long trip. Dylan Raiola isn't there. Matt Rule got locked up, so there's no distraction for the Cornhuskers in this spot. But this is a sub 2.5 point spread, basically a pick'em. UCLA playing at home. Guess what? I know Indiana showed us that UCLA is not a top tier team in the Big Ten, but still, since Tim Skipper has taken over as the interim head coach and he should be seen as the leading candidate for the job, there is plenty of urgency on that sideline for that very reason. They're not mailing it in. They're not saying, to heck with all of this. No, he and Jerry Neuheisel, I think pretty clearly want to be the UCLA coaching staff next year. So they're going to instill that same sort of urgency or find a way that we've seen. Indiana's just that much better. But don't forget that UCLA, post Deshaun Foster's firing, is pretty darn good. Now, Bruins fans will recall, I'm sure, that if UCLA wins out, which is not likely, but technically possible, then I will have to don a Nico jersey paid for with my own money that I earned hosting this show, and I will have to wear it for an entire week. And would I look forward to doing that? Nope. But would I do it? Of course, because I'm a man of my word, like the Joker, but in maybe a less sinister way. UCLA minus 1.5. Give me them over Nebraska. I do not like Nebraska's defense, even though they played well last week against USC. I just think that when you've got a backup quarterback going on the road, that's something you pick against. So give me UCLA 34 to 13. I think UCLA rolls Nebraska in this spot. Texas A&M, talked about them earlier. They have been added to the best bets. 6 picks this week. Texas A&M minus 6.5 in Missouri. Again, I am fading backup quarterbacks. This one's at home. Zollers gets to play in front of the home fans at Columbia with what are technically still playoff hopes on the line. Missouri will lose, and then they'll be out of the playoff picture. But Texas A&M minus 6.5. I think they cover that. Here's another one, and this is not even the sicko game. There are actually 2 teams I've never mentioned on this show that are making it in my best bets here. So UNLV is traveling to Colorado State. UNLV's offense this year has been prolific. Colorado State has fired their head coach because, who hasn't fired their head coach at this point in the season, frankly? UNLV hasn't because they just hired Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen's offense with Anthony Calandria at quarterback has been really good. Dan Mullen does not have a defense. The UNLV defense is dreadful. They have been torched in every game, it feels like, this year, and it has been their shortcoming. UNLV's a bowl team. This is a great first season for Dan Mullen. Things are going well. They'll probably wind up with 8, maybe even 9 wins at the end of this year. This is a really good start. I thought this marriage would work. It is. Here's the thing. Colorado State offensively has not been the sort of team that can go and take advantage of this UNLV defense. They will score because UNLV is just not playing a high level of defense this year, but I'll swallow the 4.5 on the road and take UNLV to beat the Rams 38-24. They win. They cover on the road. Colorado State has not been playing good football. I don't think there's a lot of life. I don't think there's a lot of juice on that Rams sideline. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, Colorado State. You go for it. You go. So those are the first 3. Again, I've got 5 favorites and just 1 underdog here. Here's my underdog. And again, this is not the sicko team. But I'm putting UConn in the best bets this week. Plus 9.5 at home against Duke. Duke has to go on the road for a second straight week after an emotional roller coaster of a win last week against Clemson in Death Valley, which might need to get renamed if current trends continue. Duke has been prolific on offense. Darian Mensah, after a slow start, has settled in, and the Blue Devils know how to play offense. Curiously enough, and the reason they're somewhat underachieving, but not out of the ACC title picture, this game, of course, doesn't matter for that against UConn. Duke has not been playing very good defense this year, as evidenced by the fact that Clemson, we know what Clemson is this season, a massive disappointment, put up 45 on them a week ago. Duke found a way to win. Darian Mensah can go back and forth, blow for blow all season long. I think it's just slightly too many points. Second straight on the road, emotional letdown spot. Duke has to scrap and fight and claw. UConn, an independent, slowly, quietly, they're going to go to a bowl game. They're solid, respectable, nothing special. But I think their offense has done enough this season to be able to score and cover the 9.5 against Duke. I'll take the Blue Devils 35-28 over UConn. Huskies cover 9.5. Here's another one. And this is probably my favorite bet of the week, even more than UCLA, Nebraska. Houston minus 1.5 at UCF. The Golden Knights are also having a good first season under Scott Frost relative to their expectations. They have either won big or lost big. There hasn't been a lot of in between for UCF. Houston had done the legwork to get into the top 25 last week, only to have that all come crashing down in a home defeat to West Virginia. Inexplicably bad. There could be a lot of points in this game. The Houston defense just got torched. I think they bounce back. I think they find a way to play a little bit more Willie Fritz football, run the ball, control the clock, be physical, play good defense. They're on the road giving up just 1.5 points. So essentially a pick 'em here. With just my luck, Houston will win 29-28. But I think Houston will win the football game, cover the 1.5. I'll take the Cougars 28-20 over the Golden Knights in Orlando. And here, the moment that you have all truly and honestly been waiting for, because I teased it to begin this very show. I have never uttered the name of one of these teams, who I'm saying is one of my best bets for the week, until this show. I have once mentioned the other in a coaching search. This is some sicko material for the college football diehards out there. All these lines, of course, provided by our friends at FanDuel. I was perusing. I didn't like a lot of the picks this week. I struggled putting a segment of best bets together. But here we are, off of maybe the worst beat of the year for my best bets. The Missouri one against Kansas was pretty bad. Same vibe last week when Cal didn't cover against Virginia. But at home, I'm going with Eastern Michigan minus 2.5 against Bowling Green. Neither one of these teams are having very good seasons. Neither one of these teams does a lot on offense. I'm just riding with the home side in this one. Eastern Michigan over Bowling Green minus 2.5. Houston minus 1.5 at UCF. UConn plus 9.5 against Duke, my lone underdog of the week. UNLV minus 4.5 at Colorado State. Texas A&M minus 6.5 at Missouri, and UCLA minus 1.5 against Nebraska. Those are my best bets of the week. Trying to get back over 500. We had 2 straight winning weeks, and Cal blew it. I blame Cal completely. They might never show up in the best bets again. I'm kidding. I will certainly go back to them at some point in time. But I thought about Cal. They're 18.5-point dogs at Louisville. That felt too weird, so I stayed away. But I'd lean Cal to cover. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.